Good evening, everyone. I want you to think about the last time you were in a crowded place. Maybe a sports stadium, a concert, or just a busy train station. In that crowd, who were you? Were you just an individual, a unique person with your own name and your own story? Or were you something else? Were you a fan of the team? A commuter frustrated by the delay? A young person, an old person, a person of a particular background? The answer, of course, is both. We are all individuals, but we are also something more. We are members of tribes, and those tribes, the groups we belong to, live inside our heads. They shape how we see the world, how we feel, and how we act, often without us even realizing it. Tonight, we're going on a journey into the psychology of the group. We're going to explore social identity theory, a revolutionary idea developed by Henri Tajfel, a Polish Jew who survived the Holocaust and dedicated his life to understanding the roots of prejudice and intergroup conflict. Tajfel discovered that who we are is not just about me, it's also about us. And the relationship between us and them is one of the most powerful forces in human life. Part 1: Two Kinds of Identity. Tajfel drew a clear line between two broad classes of identity. First, there's personal identity. This is the part of you that is unique. It's your name, your personality traits, your close relationships. It's what makes you different from your siblings, your friends, your neighbors. Second, there's social identity. This is the part of your self-concept that comes from the groups you belong to. Your ethnicity, your nationality, your profession, your sports team, your university. It's the we inside you. And these two can clash in powerful ways. Let me introduce you to Fatima. Fatima is a brilliant student from a marginalized ethnic group. Fatima's personal identity is built on a deep belief in meritocracy. She defines herself by her hard work and intelligence. She wants to earn a place at a top university based solely on her grades and test scores. For her, I am a scholar is a core part of who she is. But Fatima also has a social identity. Her ethnic group has historically been excluded from higher education. Community leaders encourage her to apply through a special affirmative action program. They emphasize that we need representation. We must support policies that help the group rise. Now she faces a dilemma. Her personal identity objects: I don't want a handout. I want to be judged on my merit alone. Her social identity argues, but if you don't take the slot, fewer of us will be represented. You have a duty to the group. If she uses the program, she might feel she personally compromised her meritocratic values, even if it helps her group. If she refuses, she stays true to her personal belief but may let down her community's struggle for representation. This is the tension at the heart of social identity. We are not just one thing. We are many. We have as many social identities as groups we belong to. Part 2: The Four Types of Identity. But it's even more complex than just personal and social. Researcher Marilyn Brewer gave us a more detailed map. She identified 4 distinct ways our identity can be structured. To understand them, let's meet one person and follow her through her life. Let me introduce you to Dr. Chen. Sarah is a 40-year-old professor of neuroscience at a major university. She is a Chinese-American woman, the daughter of immigrants, and a respected researcher. She is also a mother of 2 teenagers and an advocate for women in science. Here are the 4 identities she carries. First, person-based social identities. This is when the characteristics of a group are so deeply internalized that they feel like personal traits. The group becomes part of the self. Sarah was raised in a family that valued academic excellence and hard work, values deeply rooted in her Chinese immigrant background. But she doesn't see these as cultural values imposed on her. She sees them as deeply personal traits. She thinks, I am just a driven person who values education. This is who I am. The dilemma: this internalization creates pressure. When her son brings home a B grade, she doesn't just think, he got a B, she feels a visceral sense of failure. She thinks, we are the kind of people who get A's. Her personal identity is so fused with the group standard that any deviation feels like a personal flaw. Second, relational social identities. This identity is defined by your roles and relationships with specific people within your group. At the university, Sarah's identity is defined by her relationships. To her students, she is Professor Chen, the mentor, the authority figure, the evaluator. To her senior colleagues, she is the junior faculty member, the one seeking tenure, the one who must prove herself. To her female graduate students, she is the role model, the one who made it, the one they come to for advice on navigating sexism in academia. The dilemma: these roles can conflict violently. A female graduate student who sees Sarah as a mentor confides that she feels sexually harassed by a senior male colleague, who is also on Sarah's tenure committee. As a mentor, her relational identity to the student means she wants to protect her and report the harassment. As a junior faculty member, her relational identity to the senior colleague means she fears that confronting him will destroy her chance at tenure. She is torn between two different selves that exist within the same group, the university. Third, group-based social identities. This is the classic us versus them identity from Tajfel. It's about the category itself, not necessarily relationships or internalized traits. Sarah attends a national neuroscience conference. She notices that the keynote speakers are almost all men. She feels a surge of identification with women in science. She thinks, we are underrepresented here. They, the male-dominated establishment, don't give us enough opportunities. The dilemma: this identity can clash with her professional ambitions. She is invited to join an exclusive, prestigious all-male networking dinner. They want one token woman to avoid looking biased. As a woman in science, her group-based identity tells her she should refuse and call out the exclusionary practice. As a neuroscience researcher, which is also a group identity, she knows this dinner is where grants are discussed and collaborations are formed. Attending would help her career, but it feels like betraying her gender group. Lastly, collective identities. This goes beyond just belonging. It involves actively working with other members to change how the group is perceived or to advocate for the group's interests. Sarah is frustrated that the history of Asian Americans in science is ignored in textbooks. She partners with other Asian American faculty to create a public exhibit and a mentorship program for Asian American students. They are not just identifying as Asian American, they are taking action to reshape the public image of their group from model minority to pioneers and leaders. The dilemma: her collective identity demands time and energy. The group wants her to lead a protest against a new university policy that harms minority recruitment. As a collective actor, she feels a moral duty to show up and fight for her community. As a person-based identity, the internalized hard worker, and as a relational identity, the professor trying to get tenure, she knows she should be in her lab writing grant proposals, not at a protest. The collective action, while meaningful, directly threatens her individual career progression. Sarah cannot satisfy all four identities simultaneously. To act on her collective identity might harm her relational identity. To protect her person-based identity might require her to ignore her group-based identity. This is the nature of a multifaceted self. Part 3. When does an identity take over? So we have all these identities. But which one guides our behavior in any given moment? That depends on what becomes psychologically salient. Our brains are constantly scanning the environment for cues. When a cue matches a group membership that is important to us, that identity leaps to the forefront. Let's look at James, a 15-year veteran firefighter. James is at a family barbecue. He's wearing shorts and a t-shirt, relaxed and chatting with relatives. A neighbor runs over and shouts, "There's a car crash at the end of the street. Someone is trapped." The cue, the word trapped, and the sound of sirens. Accessibility. His firefighter training is deeply ingrained. He has run toward danger hundreds of times. Salient shift. Instantly, James stops being Uncle James. His firefighter identity becomes salient. He runs toward the crash, mentally cataloging what equipment he might need, even though he's off duty and in casual clothes. The prototype of a good firefighter is someone who is brave, selfless, and acts in an emergency. This prototype prescribes behavior. He must help. The meta-contrast is sharp. There is us, the firefighters who run toward danger, and them, the civilians who run away or freeze. His wife yells, "James, you're not on duty. You're not even wearing boots." His family identity tells him to stay safe. But the salient firefighter identity overrides it. He cannot not help without feeling he has betrayed who he is. For a categorization to become salient, it must have two things. Structural fit, it must account for the similarities and differences between people in the situation. Normative fit, it must make sense of why people behave as they do. Conclusion, the question of us. So, we come back to that crowded stadium, that busy train station. We've seen tonight that the question, "Who are you?" is far more complex than it seems. You are an individual, yes, with a personal story no one else can write. But you are also Fatima, torn between personal merit and group duty. You are Sarah, a single person trying to balance 4 different versions of herself, each demanding something different. You are James, whose deepest training can be triggered in a heartbeat, calling him to be a hero even when he's off duty. The genius of Tajfel's work, born from the ashes of a conflict that tried to erase entire identities, is that it shows us this isn't a flaw. It's not a sign of being two-faced or inauthentic. It's the fundamental design of the human mind. We are built to be a tapestry of us. But here's the critical question, the one Tajfel would want us to carry forward. We don't just have these identities. They are constantly being activated, often by forces we don't control. A news headline, a politician's speech, a look from a stranger on a train, these are all cues trying to tell you which you to be right now. They're trying to make one identity more salient, to draw a line between an us and a them. So, the final lesson isn't just to know your identities, but to become the conscious author of them. When you feel that tribal pull, that surge of us, you have a split-second choice. You can ask yourself, who is activating this identity in me right now and why? What story are they trying to get me to believe about who we are and who they are? In that brief moment of awareness lies our freedom. The freedom to choose which we feed. The freedom to remember that the person next to you is not just a member of a tribe, but also an individual just like you, carrying a multitude of selves inside them. The goal is not to erase our groups, but to see them clearly, and in doing so, perhaps see each other more clearly too. Good night.